The judge froze when he saw me enter the courtroom, his gavel suspended midair. I watched recognition dawn across his weathered face, the same face I'd seen 30 years younger, crying in a hospital corridor while his premature daughter fought for life in the NICU where I worked nights. "Mrs. Eleanor Hartley?" His voice cracked slightly. "Nurse Hartley?" I nodded, gripping my cane with hands that had once held his baby girl for 14 straight hours, when she'd stopped breathing 3 times in one night. Now I stood before him, 70 years old, betrayed by my own children, fighting for my right to exist on my own terms. "Your Honor," my daughter Victoria's lawyer interjected, clearly frustrated by the interruption. "The competency hearing—" Judge William Chen raised his hand for silence, his eyes never leaving mine. "I know exactly why we're here, Counselor. Please, Mrs. Hartley, take your seat." As I made my way to the defendant's table, defendant, as if loving my children too much was a crime, I caught Victoria's expression, confusion mixed with irritation. She had no idea her mother had once saved the judge's daughter. She'd never asked about my life before I became just Mom. 6 months earlier, my life had followed a rhythm as predictable as my morning pills. Wake at 6 a.m., make tea in the chipped blue mug Harold gave me for our 40th anniversary, the one with world's okayest wife that always made him laugh. Water the rose bushes he'd planted along our fence, their blooms the same coral pink as my wedding bouquet in 1973. The house felt too large without Harold. 3 years since the cancer took him, and I still set 2 plates for breakfast sometimes. But I managed. I'd always managed. 42 years as a NICU nurse taught you that. How to function on no sleep, how to find strength when tiny lives depended on your steady hands. Victoria visited monthly, always with her husband Marcus. They'd walk through rooms like appraisers, commenting on the dated wallpaper, the inefficient layout. I'd serve them coffee in my good china and pretend not to notice when Victoria pocketed photos from the mantel. Family pictures she said would scan better at home. My son David came less often, usually when he needed money. "Just a loan, Mom. The business is about to turn around." The chipped mug held memories of better times, when he'd fill it with dandelions and present it like treasure. Now he eyed my wedding rings when he thought I wasn't looking. I kept Harold's reading glasses on his nightstand, his cardigan still hanging in the closet. The photographs on our dresser showed 50 years of marriage, young faces growing lined, dark hair fading to silver, but always those matching smiles. Victoria called it morbid. I called it love. But what I found next changed everything. The first sign came when I couldn't find my checkbook. Then my Social Security card vanished. "You're getting forgetful, Mom," Victoria said, patting my hand with false concern. "It happens at your age." I might have believed her if I hadn't seen David leaving my house when he thought I was napping. He had a key, they both did, but something about his furtive movements made me suspicious. After he left, I found my filing cabinet drawer slightly open, papers hastily reshuffled. That night, I did something I'd never done before. I installed a small camera in my study, hidden behind Harold's bowling trophy. The nice young man at the electronics store had shown me how to connect it to my phone. "Lots of grandmas are getting tech-savvy," he'd said with a wink. 3 days later, I had my answer. The footage showed Victoria and Marcus in my study at 2 a.m., photographing documents, trying different signatures on blank papers. My own daughter, practicing my handwriting like a forger. "Her mental state is clearly declining," Victoria said on the recording. "Once we get power of attorney, we can sell this place and put her somewhere appropriate. The house alone is worth $800,000, Marcus added, shuffling through my papers. Plus her savings, Harold's pension, we're looking at over $1 million. My hands shook as I watched my daughter, the baby I'd carried for 9 months, whose fever I'd cooled, whose heartbreaks I'd soothed, reduce me to a dollar amount. But the worst was yet to come. Victoria held up a document, smiling. "I found a doctor who will sign the incompetency papers. Says he's treated elderly patients with similar symptoms before. We just need her to miss a few more appointments, forget a few more things. They were manufacturing my decline, creating evidence of a deterioration that didn't exist. The lawyer's face went pale when he saw. I couldn't sleep after seeing that video. At 3 a.m., I found myself in Harold's study, searching for something. I didn't know what. Maybe just his presence, his wisdom. That's when I noticed the bowling trophy felt different, heavier. Inside its hollow base, wrapped in plastic, was an envelope marked, "For Eleanor, when you need it most." My hands trembled as I opened it. Harold's careful handwriting filled 3 pages. My dearest Eleanor, if you're reading this, then something has happened that's made you doubt yourself, or others are making you doubt yourself. I know our children. I love them. But I've seen the way they look at what we've built. Not with pride, but with anticipation. Hidden for 20 years, this document will protect you. The letter detailed a trust Harold had established secretly, moving our assets beyond anyone's reach but mine. The house, our savings, everything, protected by ironclad legal documents. He'd seen this coming when I was too blinded by motherly love. There's more, my love. Remember my brother Eddie who died in 1995? He left us more than anyone knew. I invested it quietly. It's worth over $3 million now. The account information is with Tommy Chen at Chen & Associates. Yes, William Chen's father. I saved his grandson's life in Nam. He owes us nothing, but loyalty runs deep in that family. I sank into Harold's chair, overwhelmed. Even from beyond the grave, my husband was protecting me. The letter continued with detailed instructions, phone numbers, and one final paragraph that broke my heart. Don't blame yourself for trusting them, Eleanor. Your capacity to love without conditions is what made me fall for you 50 years ago. But now it's time to protect yourself. You gave them life. You don't owe them yours. All my love, Harold P.S. Check behind our wedding photo in the bedroom. There's something else you should see. Behind the photo was a small recorder and a note. Record everything. Love, H. I invited Victoria and David for Sunday dinner. They came eagerly, probably thinking I was becoming more pliable. I served Harold's pot roast recipe, using the chipped mug for my tea, fresh roses from the garden as centerpiece. Mom, Victoria started over dessert, we've been thinking about your future. I pressed record on Harold's device in my pocket. Oh? This house is too much for you, David added, clearly rehearsed. We've found a lovely assisted living community. Sunset Gardens, Victoria interrupted. They have an opening, but we need to move quickly. And the house? I asked innocently. We'll handle everything, Marcus assured me. The sale, the move. You won't have to worry about a thing. My daughter's next words shattered me. Mom, let's be honest. Victoria leaned forward. You're not who you used to be. The forgotten appointments, the missing documents. We're worried. If you sign the power of attorney now, we can help you before things get worse. What forgotten appointments? I asked. Dr. Morrison said you've missed 3 appointments this month. Dr. Morrison. I'd never heard of him. I see Dr. Patel. Have for 15 years. Victoria exchanged glances with David. No, Mom. Dr. Morrison. You've been seeing him for months. This confusion, this is exactly what we're talking about. The lies came so easily to her. I pulled out my phone, showed them my calendar. Every appointment with Dr. Patel clearly marked, all attended. You probably deleted the other appointments, David said smoothly. It's okay, Mom. Memory issues are normal at your age. Is that why you were in my study at 2 a.m. last Tuesday? I asked quietly. The silence was deafening. I have cameras now, I continued. I saw you practicing my signature, Victoria. I heard you discussing the sale price of my home while planning to put me in a facility. Victoria's face cycled through emotions: shock, anger, then cold calculation. You're paranoid now, too? Mom, this just proves you need help. I also found your father's letter, I said, standing slowly, and spoke with Tommy Chen yesterday. He's filing injunctions against any attempts to take control of my assets. David slammed his hand on the table. You can't do this. We're your children. You deserve what you've earned, I interrupted, which, from where I'm standing, is nothing. Please leave my home. They didn't leave quietly. Within a week, I was served papers. Victoria and David were seeking emergency conservatorship, claiming I was mentally incompetent and a danger to myself. Their evidence? The missed appointments with a doctor I'd never seen, forged documents suggesting confusion, and testimony from concerned family members. Which brought me to Judge William Chen's courtroom on a rainy Thursday morning. Your Honor, Victoria's lawyer began, Mrs. Hartley is 70 years old, recently widowed, and showing clear signs of dementia. Her own children have witnessed concerning behavior. What behavior? Judge Chen asked, his eyes finding mine again. Paranoid delusions, installing cameras, making wild accusations about her loving family who only want to help. I'd like to see this evidence, the judge interrupted. As they presented their case, I watched Judge Chen's expression grow darker. The doctor's reports were vague. The signatures on the missed appointment forms didn't match mine, and the timeline didn't add up. Mrs. Hartley, Judge Chen finally addressed me. Do you have representation? Tommy Chen stood. No relation to the judge, but the coincidence wasn't lost on anyone. I represent Mrs. Hartley, Your Honor. Then please present your case. Tommy was brilliant. He played the camera footage, showing Victoria and Marcus practicing forgery. He presented Harold's trust documents, proving I'd been managing complex finances perfectly. He showed my real medical records: blood pressure controlled, mind sharp, no missed appointments. But the moment that changed everything came when Tommy played an audio recording from my pocket recorder. Victoria's voice, clear and damning. Once we get her declared incompetent, we can backdate some documents. Marcus knows a guy who can make it look like she signed the house over to us months ago. Judge Chen's face was stone. Mrs. Hartley, would you please approach the bench? I stood, using my cane but keeping my dignity. As I approached, Judge Chen leaned forward. 30 years ago, he said quietly, you held my daughter for 14 hours straight. The other nurses said you refused to leave even when your shift ended. You sang to her, kept her breathing when the machines failed. She's 30 now, a doctor herself. He straightened, his voice carrying across the courtroom. I've seen many cases of elder abuse, but rarely so calculating, so cruel. The petition for conservatorship is denied. Furthermore, I'm referring this case to the district attorney for investigation of attempted fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. Victoria gasped. Your Honor, she's our mother. A fact that makes your actions more reprehensible, not less. His gavel came down with finality. The courtroom emptied slowly. Victoria and David left without looking at me, Marcus muttering about appeals. But I wasn't alone. A woman approached, mid-30s, professional, kind eyes. Mrs. Hartley, I'm Dr. Sarah Chen. You saved my life when I was born. I studied her face, seeing the premature baby who'd fought so hard to live. You became a doctor. Neonatologist, she smiled. Inspired by a nurse who wouldn't give up on me. My father called me after today's hearing. I'm sorry about your children, but I wanted you to know you have family beyond blood. The NICU nurses you worked with, the babies you saved who are now adults, we remember. Over the following weeks, something beautiful happened. Sarah organized a reunion of sorts. Dozens of grown children I'd cared for came forward, sharing stories, offering support. They created a Facebook page, Nurse Eleanor's Babies. The story went viral, not the ugly courtroom drama, but the legacy of love I'd built over 42 years. Victoria called once, 3 months later. "Mom, I'm pregnant." I waited. I keep thinking about what kind of mother I want to be. What kind I've been to you. Her voice broke. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "I know," I said simply. Could I come see you? Not for money, not for the house, just to see you." I thought about Harold's letter, about unconditional love and protecting yourself. "Yes," I said finally. "But Victoria, I'm not the same mother you tried to put away. I know my worth now." "I understand," she whispered. David never called. I heard he moved to Arizona, still chasing quick schemes. But Victoria came, slowly rebuilding what she'd nearly destroyed. She brought ultrasound photos, asked about my pregnancy with her, learned about the woman I'd been before I was her mother. 6 months later, I still live in my house, the one Harold and I built together. The roses bloom every spring, and I drink tea from the chipped mug each morning. But now, the house is often full. Sarah Chen brings her children to play in the garden. Other NICU babies stop by regularly. Victoria visits weekly, genuinely now, learning to see me as Eleanor, not just Mom. Tommy Chen helped me establish a foundation with part of Harold's hidden fortune, supporting elderly people facing family exploitation. We've helped dozens escape situations like mine. I keep Harold's letter in my nightstand, next to his glasses. Sometimes I read it to remind myself that love doesn't mean accepting mistreatment, that protecting yourself isn't selfish, that family is more than blood. It's the people who see your worth and guard it as their own. The chipped mug sits on my kitchen table as I write this, filled with fresh coffee. It's not perfect. This life after betrayal and redemption. Victoria and I are still finding our way. The hurt doesn't vanish overnight. But I've learned that sometimes you have to break completely before you can rebuild stronger. Harold knew. Somehow he knew I'd need to find my spine, to discover that the woman who could save tiny lives could also save her own. What would you have done in my place? Have you experienced family betrayal? The hardest truth I learned was that sometimes the people who should protect us become the ones we need protection from. But I also learned that family can be chosen, built from kindness and respect, rather than mere genetics. Comment below and tell me which city you're watching from. Share your own story if you feel comfortable. We're never too old to start over, never too invested to walk away from those who would diminish us. Remember, you gave them life. You don't owe them yours. Thank you for listening to my story. May you always know your worth.